Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back to IIUM Brilliance for this week, where we explore secrets to unlock potentials. Our very goal with this show is basically to dive into the mindsets, insights, and ingredients of success of IIUM's very own high achievers in the field of academic, intellectual, and education fields. But most importantly, we try to invite guests who have directly contributed to the development of our society through their works. And this week we have a very special guest whom I look up to. I remember my friends sharing about her, and there are many questions that you have that you would ask for this time. Please join me in welcoming our very guest, Sister Khadijah Mohd Husni. Thank you so much for joining us. It is our honor to invite you over this show. And what I understand is that you are holding 2 bachelor degrees and 2 master's degrees from Amman, Jordan, and also in International Islamic University, Malaysia. I'll share the details in our post letter upcoming. As well as I was like blown away when I learned that you're also holding a first degree Taekwondo black belt. Is that true?
Yeah, true.
And you're also doing equestrian at the same time.
Yeah.
How, my very question, I don't know, waste on my words. I really want to know, how did that happen? Because you're 23 years old,
Yeah.
what I understand. Please share with us.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Maybe I should start with like my timeline of life. So I was born in the UK and I lived there for a few years. So as we know that the education system there is quite different from ours, and we start school at 5, like when we were 5 years old. And when I went back when I was 7, so my parents thought why does Malaysia like make the school system starts at 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it shows that the system is like below the capacity of the child. Like maybe actually the child is capable more than what the system provides. So that's why my parents start with their first experiment, which is me, because I'm the eldest.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is skipping grades. And I read about it, about skipping grades, which it's like one of the methods to like provide the accurate education for a child that like maybe a gifted child or someone. Okay, so my parents just tried. They made me skip standard 3. Okay, yeah. So that was my first trial. Okay, and then things was alright. So they skipped. I skipped standard 6. So that is 2 years.
Yeah.
But then I had a problem with because I can't take the UPSR, so it affects how I will continue my secondary school. Like I don't have much choice of schools. So my parents came up with the idea to send me to Egypt. Another thing that contributes that because since when I was small, they wanted me to be an Islamic scholar. Yeah, so choosing Egypt is the right choice. So they sent me when I was 11, to Egypt, and I started my secondary school there. And fortunately, in Egypt, in my school, we had a skipping grade system. So we were given the chance to take the PMR during our Form 2, or 8th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I took that exam when I was in my 8th grade. So I skipped another year. So I saved 3 years. Yeah, so that's how it started. And then I continued my studies in Jordan University. So the course is usually taken 4 years, but we can compress our subjects and make it 3 years. So I graduated my first degree in 3 years, And then I was told that if I want to take the second degree in the same faculty, I
Yeah.
just have to add 2 years. So that's why I went for it.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and I finished the second one in 1 year and a half. Yeah. And then I went back to Malaysia. So I graduated January 2016. And in February 2016, I started my first master's.
When you were how?
I was, wait, 20.
Your first master's when?
Yeah, 20. Yeah. And then, I took a mixed mode course, which the minimum is 1 year and a half. Yeah, and finished that. And it was at Al Madinah International University. And then I registered at IIUM in September 2018. Yeah.
How does it feel when? Do you realize that there are different education systems, like for example in Malaysia, and then there's and then the people around you perhaps are older than you. Do you
Yeah.
realize that? Does it affect you, or it doesn't affect because you've been overseas anyway?
Well, the fact that my classmates are older than me was since my primary school.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Because I skipped third grade and
Yeah.
sixth grade. Yeah, so it doesn't affect me much. Like I'm used to be called like I'm the youngest in class.
What is your parents' advice that keep you going in such an environment? Do they say anything to you particularly?
Well, it's basically their plan, but they discussed with me and like I accepted what they planned. But like they have two principles. The first thing is you have to save time. Like if you can do it for a shorter time, why lengthen the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and the second thing is about your capability. Like, why do you want to limit your capability? So that's why they encouraged me to go as far and as fast that I could.
So they've been this kind of people who believe that you can always push yourself in a good way, because starting young affects how a person grows as well.
Yeah, right? Well, sometimes there are times that I feel like different. Like I feel like, why can't I play like other kids, right? But now as I grew up, I realized that actually what my parents did is a good thing, and like it's what made me today.
Yes, because I'm fascinated by the idea that I'm very passionate with education, and just a living proof that we can actually save time, as well as giving the opportunity for a child, for example, to further deepen her studies at such young age. So I believe that people are curious how you manage that when it comes to perhaps motivation as well as focusing, because we'll go into deeper how she manages with her extra activities as well. And please stay tuned at IIUM Brilliance for our next questions. Welcome back to IIUM Brilliance, where we explore secrets to unlock potentials. Just now I was talking with Sister Khadijah, and she said that she loves challenges. I think it must have something to do with your childhood and all the way when you're growing up right now. When you love challenges, at some time there must be some kind of obstacles that would drag people down when they are faced with such unprecedented or unexpected challenges. What is your view on motivation particularly? And do you have any particular motivation when it comes to studying?
Okay. The first thing is you have to, I believe the quote of Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's the
true.
biggest motivation for myself, because if you don't have a goal, like you don't know like how far you can go or you will go.
Yeah.
But when your goal is clear, then any obstacles could be faced to reach the goal. And another thing is your intention. Like now, when we get older, like we know we have bigger responsibilities or purposes in life.
Yeah.
So that's something that I always remind myself when I'm a bit down or about to give up. Like what do I want to achieve in the first place? For example, like one of the things that I really put my mind into, I want to benefit others. Yeah. So if I stop in the middle of the road, how will I benefit others later on? And also, like all the struggles that we face, inshallah, with good intentions, we will get good deeds from it. Yeah. So those kind of things, maybe it sounds like theoretical, but that reminder always motivates me. And another thing that I believe that motivation is from the inner self. Like if you demotivate yourself, no one can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that I really believe in.
So the first one, we have to begin with the end in mind. Yeah. That is having a clear goal, a clear and specific goal. And then we have to have clear intentions, also sincere intentions, and knowing the fact that nobody else can motivate us unless we want to do it from the inside. When you talk about goals, would you recommend a goal something like wanting to achieve 4 flat CGPA? Or is it a bigger goal? For example, I want to become a doctor so that I can serve the community. How would you advise people on setting goals?
It could be both. Like, okay, for example, I want to be an Islamic scholar, inshallah. So I need the knowledge, but so that's why I study. But at the same time, I want to please my parents with my grades. And at the same time, like these days, people look up at grades. Like if someone with a lower grade and someone with a higher grade, the higher grade is will have more opportunities, right?
Yes.
So it's not bad to like strive for the marks.
Yeah.
And maybe because I'm a bit a perfectionist, so I also expect perfect scores during my studies. And also maybe because it's from my parents' psychology. Because when I was in primary, my dad will ask, how many hundreds did you get? Like, it's not how many A's, it's how many hundreds.
I'm about to ask that. Like, where do you think you get that sense of perfectionism?
Yeah, so yeah, he would ask how many hundreds. And then when I was in university, he will ask, like, did you get a 4 flat this semester? Like, he only wants to hear that. Other than that, like, don't talk to me, like, don't bother to tell me. Yeah.
Did it ever give you pressure? Or it's a good pressure?
It's a good pressure because sometimes when I feel like, it's okay, I will just get a B from this, but then I will feel like, no, it's better to get an A because then I will achieve my perfect score.
There are some things in just now you mentioned Stephen Covey's book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And among the things that he shared, we should have a clear goal. And one of the things he told us is to write it clearly and paste it, things like that. Do you do anything like that?
Not really.
Or perhaps you journal, or what habits do you keep? Yeah.
So the bullet journal. I really plan my study. Last year when I was in my masters, every early of the month, I will write the dates from 1 to 30, and then I will write like what will I focus on, what will I study, and I will also include my breaks, like when I hang out with my friends, or when will I go to my horse riding. Yeah, so everything is in the schedule, because the famous quote is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
Because I believe that if you don't plan your study, then it will then time will pass, and then you'll just study last minute for the exam, right? Yeah. And the second thing that I really hold on to when studying is studying continuously. Because one thing is because it's easier to answer the exams if you study continuously, but the most important thing is because to really grab the knowledge. Because for imagine if you study just a week before exam, a week after exam, will you still remember the information?
Meaning you set a certain period of time to study every day? Or how would you break down the phrase like studying continuously?
Studying continuously mean like throughout the year. But for a day, I will break my day according to the prayers. Yeah, so in the morning until Dhuhr, what will I do? And then Dhuhr. So usually I study in the morning and night. And maybe the evening, like lighter things. Maybe I read books that I like, non-related to the study, or I go out. Yeah.
So you break your day according to the prayers, and in between that you fill up with
things that I want to do. Yeah, and then I will mark at the end of the day. So maybe sometimes there are like 2-3 things that I don't achieve, then I will move it to the next day or the day after.
I think that's a great reminder for the rest of us as well, especially for myself, to keep a bullet journal. It's quite famous lately, right? So we can keep track of the things that we want to do, especially like you do a lot of things that we'll share after this, and to make sure that nothing slips from the mind. So we'll come back later with more questions that you want to ask. We'll have to ask here at this show. So stay tuned at IIUM Brilliance. Welcome back to IIUM Brilliance, where we explore secrets to unlock potentials. Just now, again, one more, I get more detailed information about Sister Khadijah's life. And she said that during her primary school, she learned swimming as well as playing organ. And I know that when you were also studying this very quite meticulous studies in the field of Islamic jurisprudence and Quran and Sunnah, I mean, like, I'm taking introduction to Ulum Hadith. We all know how it is like. How do you teach yourself to focus, especially not only focusing when we're studying, but the fact that there are different things around us waiting for us to give our attention to it? So how do you teach yourself to focus one task at a time and things like that?
Yeah, so the first thing is, as I said before, is using the schedule.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to train yourself to be really disciplined and follow the schedule, because I saw many of my friends, they made a schedule like me, but they didn't follow it like me. Yeah. So it's really important to stick to a schedule, and I like to use the the method of self-reward and self-punishment. Well, so I will say to myself that if I complete that book, then I will treat myself to a movie or hang out with friends. Yeah, and if I didn't accomplish what I was supposed to do, then like maybe I have to cut a bit my sleep, because I like to sleep, or like I can't hang out with my friends for that week. Yeah, something like that. So that is like another self motivation. So, and within the time that I will put the pages that I want to finish.
Yeah.
So like it's really like per hour. So I used to put like 20 pages to study for the exam per hour.
20 pages to study in 1 hour?
Yeah, in 1 hour. So that makes me focus. Like I really have to finish 20 pages in 1 hour. If not, then it will affect my schedule afterwards. Yeah.
And for me, when you mentioned that you use the self-reward and self-punishment system, sometimes I would put a reward, but I didn't do the job, but I reward myself. So I really think there is an element of passion in what you're doing. Why do you love Islamic study particularly? Because that's her field, and we're going to share that in the post letter. Do you have who motivates you, or what is it?
Yeah, actually, it started with my parents' motivation, because from when I was small, they will say like, I want you to be an Islamic scholar, and then they will tell me stories about like Dr. Yusuf Qaradawi and other scholars. That and then they will say like, you have to target to achieve near to Dr. Yusuf Qaradawi, and then I will like how, like I was still small, and then for example in Malaysia, our Mufti Dr. Zulkifli Al-Bakri. So this is another person that my parents talked about him, and then when I really study like with focus, when I was in Egypt, at that time I started to like the subjects. Yeah, and then it grew more when I was in university.
How would you deal with distractions? For me, my biggest distraction is like my phone, and
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, but okay. I focus on target more than time. So I'm like, okay, finish your 20 pages and then you can look at your phone. Yeah, like that. So so as long as I achieve the target, then I can do what I want. So that is the motivation. So I have to be a bit patient until I finish that. Yeah. So
how would you view study group? Because sometimes
I think it's good for difficult subjects.
Okay.
Yeah. I myself too. I needed a few study groups when I studied. So, but I like the style where we divide topics and then we read it at home, and then we just discuss what we have read.
Oh.
So it's like more effective rather than like you go to the study group knowing nothing. Yeah.
And rather than studying alone?
For difficult subjects, I prefer study groups for a start, and then when I understand the subject, then I will revise it alone.
And I understand that when you are studying Islamic courses, especially in the social stream, or art stream, we can say that we have, for every course, we have many books or readings that we have to finish.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? I mean, when we are studying one thing, we realize I have to do another thing. So how do you manage that?
Well, that's why the schedule is really important. Like, for example, the month, I already divided like the first week which book I have to finish, the second week. So I know like when I focus on the first subject, the following week will be the second subject, and this makes me restricted to not procrastinate, because then I don't have time to study the second subject.
How about when it comes to exam period,
Yeah.
and you have your extracurricular activities as well? Would you slow down on the extra activities, or what would your advice be?
When I was in university in Jordan,
Yeah.
I didn't skip because I was really active, because I participated in like in competitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like my trainer was really strict about attendance, so I can't skip.
Yeah.
But when I studied my master, yeah, I skipped I skipped sometimes. But actually, the extra activities is where I rest from study. Yeah. So especially equestrian, because it's my passion. So it's like the biggest reward for the week, to go and meet the horses and ride.
There's one archer, I watched her video, and she said that when she tried to aim at the goal, it makes her focus only on one thing and sort of like forget the rest.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same when you ride a horse?
Yeah, because horse is really a special thing. Okay, I can talk hours about horses, never mind.
Go on.
But the horse feels your emotion. So imagine if you are stressed, or if you are angry, what happened to the horse that you are riding?
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why it's really important to control your emotion when you're on the horse. Even though you're angry on with the horse, like you can't really like feel it much, because then the horse will sense it. So you like have to be really positive, and then like, okay, this horse is good. Okay, this horse is good, and then like you talk to the horse and calm him down, whatever. Yeah. So horse riding really teaches us to control our emotions, and yeah, because it's an animal, so it's really unpredictable, and that's why like you really have to focus on that thing only, because like if you become distracted, the other minute you can be on the sand, you can fall off. Yeah.
How do you stabilize your emotion when you have to face?
When?
You will tell yourself like, calm down.
Yeah, I just have to enjoy that moment.
Definitely. I think that's very interesting. We should consider going to nature again. So we'll come back at IIUM Brilliance. Stay tuned. Welcome back to IIUM Brilliance, where we explore secrets to unlock potentials. We are deep into the conversation, so join us again. I am very fascinated by the fact that you do extracurricular activities because you've been focusing on study, and then you also you keep on thriving in your studies as you dive into these areas of taekwondo and then equestrian. What would your recommendation be, the 3 studying habits that students perhaps can adopt? Because we are heading towards our exam period, and right now it's week 9. Can you share with us some of your tips?
Okay. So the first thing is to all out in your study. Like, study is not something that you do in your free time. It's something that you make time for it. Yeah. And yeah, as I said before, it affects the way you study continuously and the way that you really plan a schedule. Another thing is you read before and after your lecture or class, because it really gives like some percentages. Before you go into the class, you really have to get the general idea of the topic, and then you go to class and understand from the lecturer. So each time the percentage of your understanding raises, and then when you go back, you really have to revise like the same day or the following day to like really make the knowledge what do you call it, like stay in your mind. If not, it will be only a short-term memory. Yeah. So and when I was in university, I revised like at least 5 times before each exam, because only then it like convinced me that I'm ready. So there's my friend who also studies like me, and she will ask like, did you finish your study? I mean, like for how many times? Like
The question,
yeah. So it's not about finishing the book, it's about how many times did you read the book.
You read the book? I mean, you finish it like 5 times.
Okay, so the first time is like really fast reading for a general idea, and then we go to class, and then we revise what we learned, and then maybe we have to like focus on the parts that we don't understand, and then search for how to understand it. For example, study groups or ask a senior or a lecturer, and then okay, so that completed our understanding. So, and then the 4th time or the 3rd time is reading the whole book, but with underlining the important points. Yeah, and then the following round, the 4th or the 5th, is memorizing the underlined lines, and then so and then the day before exam, like you can quickly revise what you memorized.
So the first one, you would just advise going all out. I remember Mahathir said also during his studies, like he would read 10 times, because he said, when I do something double, I would only achieve half of what people achieve. So that's what he said lah. So the first one is to go all out by repeating the studying session, and then perhaps your second advice would be?
Well, I think most of the points I said it during.
How about like taking care of yourself?
Okay.
Do you have any
yeah,
routine?
maybe I can say about my extra activities. So another thing why I don't stop during exams is because I need that time. Like for example, in taekwondo is for me to exercise.
Yes.
Because like the famous quote, a sound mind is in a sound body, right? So and being healthy can raise your focus and your memory. Yeah, so it's something that it's a need in your daily life. And also when you get stressed. Yeah, so I go for horse riding for a me time and to release all the stress. Yeah, so that's why I think it's not good to like stop your extra activities.
I learned from my friend as well that you are also involved in an NGO, is it?
Yeah.
And how would you view students being involved in activism? Because especially in the new Malaysia, people will say activism is quite important to get involved with the community. How would you view that relationship?
Yeah, I think it's something, it's a need for a student to be able to contribute to the society, like and it's up to you like which organization that you want, but in the end you need to contribute to the society.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing why I joined NGOs is to build my like spiritual part, like because in the NGOs like they have tazkirah and stuff like that, or we do qiyamul layl. So that's also a part that we can't live throughout our life.
So joining activism as well as engaging with the community would actually balance our psyche. Like we have our academic, intellectual, physical activities as well as our social part. There's one question that we ask every guest who come to our show at IIUM Brilliance. What are the 3 books you would recommend everyone to read? But it's really up to you how you want to answer this. There's a freedom because it's Malaysia.
So this is the hardest question that I got because honestly I don't have any like specific books in mind because I like to read books depend on the authors.
Okay.
Yeah. So especially books that talk about or books written by people that I look up to, like my role models.
Yes.
Yeah. So I really like to read about them so that they inspire me, or like I will be able to like imitate them or something. Or
would you name somebody?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so one person like 2 person I already mentioned before, Dr. Yusuf Qardawi and Dr. Zulkifli Al-Bakri. They really inspire me because the way that they are very like rahmah to the people, and how they use the rulings that they learned to like really give the right ruling to the society depending on the current situation.
Yeah,
like it's not just like halal haram, but like really with rahmah and considering the situation.
Yes.
Yeah, so when I read about them, like I really want to be like them, and I want to learn like how do they think and how do they decide. Yeah,
I agree. It's very important to have role models because we can see, like beginning at the end, with the end in mind, we can see what we want to become. Thank you so much, Sister Khadijah Husni, for joining us because it's been very short. So don't forget to like this video and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And next week, inshallah, we have very special guest and an episode. It's been a pleasure to share all of this knowledge and wisdom for this episode. Inshallah, see you in next episode.